So we are going to kick off this Launch Revolution workshop, and I am so excited to have you here. I would love to know where you are watching from. I'm actually in Sweden right now, so I am at my sister's place, and I would love to know where you are tuning in from. So please share that inside of the comments, and I hope I have the chat on. Maybe I should check that. Can anyone type in the chat? So, Josephine, you are, yes, Elizabeth, you can type. And we have Sweden, we have Florence, we have England. So welcome, so excited to have you all here. We have Budapest, Seattle, we have Canada in the house. Hi, Gail, hi, David, Anka, New York City. So we are all over the world, and that is the beauty with the online space, but especially doing virtual events like this, what we're going to talk about this 3 days, because you can be anywhere and sell to anyone in the capacity one to many. And that is the whole idea. That is why I usually say that virtual events is a superior way of scaling, because you can sell very simply, like we have a Zoom room now, you could use something else to sell your offers in the capacity one to many. Terrible code. That is okay. You don't have to have the camera on, Gail. That is totally fine. So I am Angela. I'm a virtual event sales expert for you who don't know me. And I have helped hundreds of clients and thousands of people throughout all the events that I have hosted to sell their offers in a more simple way in the capacity one to many. Not only to earn more money, of course, and to have more clients, but also to save a lot of time. Because what we're going to do throughout these 3 days is that we're going to look at a launch system, a virtual event system that is going to save you massive amount of time and replace a lot of things that you actually do today. And virtual events not only saves you time, it also gives you clients and money in the bank account, but it's also going to grow your list. It's going to grow your audience, and it's going to grow an audience that actually makes sense. And I usually say that virtual events are going to build your dream client for you. But at the same time, you also position yourself on the market, because when you do virtual events, you're going to claim a topic. And we're going to go deep into that tomorrow. And you're going to claim a topic, and that is the topic that you're going to be known for inside in the marketplace. So you're going to build this category of one brand. So I hope that everyone that is here wants to close more clients in a more simple way, earn more money, at the same time grow your list, grow your audience, an audience that makes sense, and positioning yourself on the market. So if that is you, yeah, you are in the right place. So if that is not you, I guess this is not the workshop for you, because that is what we're going to focus on, okay? So we are going to kick in, and I have done up from the moment I started doing virtual events. I'm going to share quickly a little bit about my story. I have done around 390 live conversion events or virtual events like this one. And I have seen it all. I have also done it all. I have done all the trial and error that you can possibly think about. I have done paid event. I have done long event, short event, entire days. I have tried everything. And I have also been doing this since 2017. So 2017, I hosted my first 5-day challenge. That means that I have been in a lot of market cycles. So things happens in cycles, right? And what we did back then doesn't work today, and what we did 2021 didn't work in 2017, right? So there is a different cycles. But I didn't start out doing what I do today, helping people do events, because I actually started out in the health and wellness industry. So I was a truck driver, and I was living in the truck from Sunday to Friday, but in the weekends, I worked as a personal trainer at the local gym. So I wanted another lifestyle. I wanted to travel the world. I wanted to have a lot of money, of course. And I launched a fitness business online. The problem was I didn't know what I was doing. So what I did was that I did a niche down, because I didn't know what niching down was. I didn't know anything about dream client. I didn't know anything about organic marketing versus paid marketing. So I built a fitness app, because that was very popular back then. So I built a fitness app. I drove traffic to quizzes from ads, and depending on what they replied, they got offered a different program inside of my app. And I guess I had like 20 programs. It was massive. And that way of running a business almost costed me more money than I was making because it was very expensive. And then I came across another person's 5-day challenge. And I was just like, wow, this looks like a simple way. So I ran my own and I failed because what I didn't know, since I didn't kind of hired anyone, was that there is an entire strategy behind running a 5-day challenge that actually converts. So I actually hired a person that was an expert in building challenges and webinars, and I relaunched. And that challenge, together with one webinar, took my fitness business to $100,000 in sales within 4 months. And then I run my fitness business while I was still working, and it was like as a truck driver, which means I did all this from the truck cabin. I didn't have a laptop with me, so I used my phone on a little tripod that I put in the front of at the window, right? So in 2019, that is when I started to help others do what I did, virtual events to sell their offers. And in 2020, I closed the fitness business. I quit as a truck driver, and this is what I have been doing since then. And the reason why I tell you this story is that I want you to know where my rooted conviction, and this is one of my biggest convictions, that virtual events is a superior and more simple way of scaling than anything that you can find out there. And now more than ever. And we're going to come back to that. And we talked about it in the pre-training as well. But I also want you to know who you're listening to, where I come from, and what I have done to my journey to be able to sit here and speak to you. Okay. And what I discovered kind of throughout the years is that virtual events needs to be, I could say, adjusted depending on where in kind of the market or the business cycles we are. So what we do today is not what we did 2021. And we have seen a lot of changes, especially 2020, 21, 22, and now I would say end of 24 and the entire 25. So I'm here to tell you that the old way that we did them just doesn't cut it anymore. It's not going to work because there's so much information out there. It's so easy to access information online today, compare how it was some years ago, okay? And I want you to write this down. The ones that is going to win in 2025 moving forwards, because you're going to see a lot of people exit the market, are the ones that listens and understand and operate in their dream client's reality, because it's not your reality. So I hear a lot when I talk about the effect that the market that we live in affects people. Some people say to me, yeah, but it haven't affected me. But you're not selling to yourself, right? You're not selling your offer to yourself. You're selling it to a person that is in a different reality than you are, which means the ones that is going to survive are the ones that understands this and can operate inside of that reality. And that is something we talked about inside of the pre-training. So how many of you have watched the pre-training that I sent out? And don't worry if you haven't watched it. I have added it to the replay page that I'm going to send out on top. And it's a 30 minutes video that go through a little bit about the changes that have happened in the market from, I would say, 2020. Kirsty has seen it. That is great, because I go through it, kind of the market changes and why virtual event, or how virtual events has kind of been different now compared to what it was before. But I am going to give you a short little kind of recap, but make sure that if you haven't watched it, go back and watch it, because it sets kind of the foundation of this entire 3 days that we are going to do. Okay. So I'm going to do a quick recap. And the number one thing that I want you to understand is that the market have shifted. And I've said it, what worked before just doesn't work anymore. And when I started out, we was in a very relationship driven market. We made sales by relationship. Then we moved into a marketing driven market. So the people that could spend the most money on ads were the ones that was the most successful, right? But now, thanks to AI and thanks to automation and thanks to all that, we are now moving back to a more relationship driven market. And that means that relationships are the things that is going to build trust and drive the conversions. Okay. And that is a good thing. I'm just going to say it because that means that anyone can win, not the people that have the most money. That means that you can do this from your little space on the internet, right? So that is a good thing. And we can actually see that service-based entrepreneur spends 20, 30 hours per week on tactics and stuff that moves them away from speaking to people, right? At the same time, you have an entire audience over here that is sick and tired of the impersonal kind of tactics and stuff that they get met. I mean, it's like when you want to reach a business and you go to their webpage, who is meeting you in the chat? An AI bot, right? It's very hard to speak to a person today. So you have an entire audience that is just sitting there waiting for someone to speak to them. At the same time, we try to move away from actually speaking to people. And this have created a gap. And this started like, I would say in 2023-ish, this gap started to create. And every time you go in and close a gap, you make money, right? So that gap can be closed with virtual events because this is relationship driven. This is not driven of marketing. This is driven on the relationship between me and the people that are here, right? So that is the first thing. The second thing, trust is everything. We are in a trust recession because people have bought a lot of empty promises. They have less disposable income. That is just a fact. And they are drowning in content that sounds good, but doesn't connect, right? And you don't win by being the best kept secret. You win by showing up. You win by building connections and build relationship with conversation that leads to building trust. And I usually say that when we run virtual events, we actually kind of collapse the trust because it takes a lot of months to build trust with one person if they are just going to read what you post on social media. Let's say you just read what I posted on Facebook, and to build trust enough to actually say to me, I trust you to take me to the next level, it's going to take a long time. So we want to compress that time. So you need a system that builds trust quickly because you don't have that time. I mean, we want clients now. No, we want clients yesterday. We can't get them yesterday. So we want them today. We don't have time to wait 10 months. Right? Because there's going to be another person that is way faster to building trust with that person that is going to get the chance to help them to the next level. So that is the second thing. You need a system to build trust very fast. The third thing is that you need a way to consistently attract new people. And this is not something new, but it's a foundation that a lot of people skip. You need a way to build trust with those people. Some people call it nurturing. And you need a way to turn that trust into a paying client, right? And virtual events do all these three things at once. That is why I love them. That is why they are so superior, because you don't need to do three different things. You do one thing that builds all these three things. So a virtual event is going to build trust very fast for you. It's going to shorten the trust cycle, the sales cycle, from someone to go from cold to sold. It's going to replace like months of content into days. It's also going to save time. I usually say it's going to replace like 80% of what you do today, spending times doing here and there, trying to sell one here, one here. There is no rule for how many people we could have in the room. We could be thousands and thousands of people. You know, these big launches that let's say Russell Brunson do, there is like 50, 60, 70,000 people in front of him. One too many. There is no limit, right? but it's also going to build the category of one brand for you. And the best thing I would say with webinars and shorter events, it's a repeatable system. It can turn into an evergreen, right? That can be in a funnel. And inside of that pre-training, we also set the foundation or the intention of this training, okay? And because we are not here to do things that didn't work, right? I don't want you to go out on Monday and do the same things that up until today didn't work, right? Because that is a waste of time. We need to change things. If things isn't working, we need to change, right? So if you missed the training, go back, and I have 4 questions that I want you to take with you these 3 days and also into the future. Is that you need to ask yourself when it comes to changing things in your business, am I truly committed? And am I ready to run the reps? Am I doing things the hard way? And am I ready to change? Because we have a tendency to overcomplicate. We have a tendency to say that we're going to do a lot of things and then we don't do them, right? And we say that I'm going to change, and then we go back and do the things that didn't work before, and we continue to hustle, right? Because if nothing changes, nothing changes. And this is your opportunity to start something new, to change something that isn't working, to save time, to close clients, to earn more money and change more people's lives, right? So that is kind of a quick 5-minute recap what is inside of the pre-training, but I go more into depth with the market and the virtual events and things like that. So make sure that you go back and watch it. So I know that I sent out a workbook. If you don't have it, don't worry. You take out pen and paper, but make sure you do have pen and paper because I'm going to cover a lot, okay? And then you go back to one of the emails that I sent out and download the workbook, because I'm not going to share it because I don't want any distractions of people downloading and you are not listening. I want you to pay attention, okay? So just take out a pen and paper. And then we have some things, house stuff. We are live today, of course, Monday, Tuesday and Wednesday at the same time in the same Zoom room, okay? It's the same Zoom link to all the sessions. And inside of the community, Simplified to Scale, you can ask any questions, okay? So make sure that you take that opportunity to ask any questions. On Thursday, I will run a live Q&A because I'm going to collect as many questions as I can that comes up, and I'm going to run that inside of the Facebook community. So make sure that you join the Facebook community. I'm going to send out replays because I absolutely understand that you might not be able to watch all the sessions live, or you want to rewatch because there might be too much content that you can't kind of comprehend. So I'm going to send out the replay, but you can only access them until Friday midnight Eastern Standard Time. Okay, then I take the replays down because something I believe in is to take action. Okay, nothing happens if we don't do anything. Right? Nothing happens if we just, we say that we're going to do it, and then the energy when we said that disappear and we do nothing. Okay, so that is why I remove all the replays. Everyone here is going to get an invitation tomorrow and on Wednesday to join my Launch Academy. We have Elizabeth here. She's already inside the Launch Academy. She's already, so we're going to invite you to join Elizabeth. And then we have the pre-training, and any questions throughout this training today, add them in the comment section, because I am going to make sure that we cover them. So I'm going to try to have my eyes on the chat, but it might be that I forget something. And then I have Josephine here, my business partner, Josephine Vanner, and she can collect all the questions, because I don't want you to leave with things, with questions, because then you're not going to implement anything, right? Because you don't know what to do or how to do it. So make sure that you add them in the comment section, okay? So today, it's all about filling your event with the right people. And that was actually the biggest question inside of the Facebook group. So I did a poll inside of the Facebook group, and that was the biggest one. That my biggest problem is that I can't either fill the event with any people or I get the wrong people. Okay, so today we are going to focus on that. After that, I have a little implementation step. So you have something to do for tomorrow that I want you to implement. Does that sound good? And I'm going to try to keep this within the hour. So, but I know I might overdo the time a little bit. That is usually how this works. So can I get a yes from everyone if you are ready to jump into the content and you have a pen and a paper, or the workbook if you have that one. So yes, we have a yes from Gail, Kirsty, so I have a lot of yeses. So great. Hi, Sylvia. Oh, we have Sylvia here as well. I didn't see you, Sylvia. I'm sorry. So I can't see all the cameras here. So Sylvia's also a Launch Academy client. So welcome. So we don't want any people, do we? It might be that you feel that you want to kind of help everyone and it's going to be easier, but it's absolutely not. I did that mistake. I tried to help old women over 40 lose weight, and I ended up helping nobody, right? So we want the right people. And I'm not only talking about the right people for offer, the ones that you really want to work with, that is aligned with who you are and your beliefs and your convictions, okay? So you want people that want and need what you have to offer, right? So in the foundation, I talked about three things. I talked about lead generation, getting people now into the event. And we talked about building trust, that a lot of people call lead nurturing. And then we talk about lead conversion. That is when we invite people to invest in themselves and let us lead them to the result that they want. We sell, right? We get people in, we build trust with those people, and we convert them. That is one cycle, right? So we invite people to our event, we host the event like this, and then we invite people to say, hey, this is what I got. This is how it looks like. You are invited to join. One cycle, because you're going to hear me talk about a cycle a lot. That is the cycle. Okay. And this today, we're going to focus on the top, getting people in. Okay. We want them in, we want their attention. And that is probably the hardest. And then we want them to sign up, right? Tomorrow we talk about building the content. It looks different today than it did before, how to actually put content together that drives sales and make people actually take action. And then on Wednesday, it's all about sales. How do we go from teaching people something into sell? And that is usually very, very awkward for a lot of people, right? And a lot of energy and emotions comes up. So we're going to do that on Wednesday, okay? And today we're going to talk about everything about filling the event. So I'm going to cover three things today. Something I call the event runway. Then we're going to talk about actually filling the event, like the lead generation stuff, okay? And the third one, how do we increase show up rate? Because that is something that everyone, it doesn't matter on what level you are, has decreased a lot. And that has nothing to do with you, but we're going to talk about some things to actually get people to show up and engage, even if they don't show up live, how to actually make them watch the replays, because you're going to have way more people that watch the replays than you had before, okay? And inside of the Launch Academy, we built these three things. We built the runway, and we built inside of the runway, we built kind of three things. We built visibility to get seen by people. That is the number one step. You can't do lead generation if nobody sees it. I could post every day. If nobody sees that content, it doesn't matter what it say, right? So you need to build visibility, and you need to hand out invitations doing lead generation. And then you need to build relationship with those people to make sure that you get to like, know, and trust. They get to like, know, and trust you even before the event. That is what we call the runway. So write that down. The launch runway or the event runway, it's about boosting up your visibility. And that can be done in a lot of ways. Getting those signups from those people. but also start engaging with those people before the event. And that is usually what a lot of people skip. So they do nothing. They invite people and then they do nothing. So that is why I wanted to cover that kind of little bit about the runway. But first I want to say you don't need to run ads. I don't teach ads. If anyone is here to learn that, that is not what I teach. I teach organic. And you don't need a massive amount of people to run successful and high converting event, because it's not about the numbers here. It's not about getting as many people as possible, right? It's about the depth of that message that you have with those people. Okay. And there is actually what I usually say when we run ads, you always know that that is cold traffic. They don't know you. They don't have an idea who you are, right? And that requires a different skill set. So what I'm going to focus today on is organic leads that you get from social media or in other organic ways. Okay, so I just want to make that clear. But you don't need to run ads. We don't run ads in the Launch Academy either. But what you do need is a smart runway. So write this down. Visibility. And that you have heard before, right? Visibility. This is where you start showing up consistent and frequent and get in front of new people in the market. Okay. This can be done in many ways. You can grow your own audience, right? Go out and connect with new people, grow your own audience. But you can also be visible for other people's audiences. That is one way of doing it. You can start connecting with people and start having conversations, okay? Because this is important. If you never grow new people, if you never come across new people, your pool of people to invite into your event is going to dry out. So you need visibility. We work with visibility between the launches, of course, but when we are entering, we're going to do an event now in September. We nail focus a week to boost visibility, where we really dig deep into getting that visibility up. So that is one part of the runway. Second, invitations, lead generation. So write that down. Second is invitations, lead generation. And the third thing is nurturing. You start building trust even before the event. Okay? And we can call it nurturing. You nurture the people who said yes. You connect with them. You get them excited. You share stories. You send emails, of course. And you create kind of a momentum and create this excitement for what is actually coming, right? And the runway and this is usually a question that I get that I'm going to cover right away. This can be long and this can be short. It's a little bit depending on what event that you are going to do, how long this runway is going to be for you. It's also depending on how engaged is your audience. You might already have a really engaged audience that sign up for almost anything that you do. Then this could be very short. But if we're just starting out, we want to give ourselves a little time. So the runway to boost visibility, to get people to actually register, is going to be a little bit longer. Okay. So one thing it has in common, all of this is clarity in your messaging. This is where it starts. This is the absolute front end, clarity in your messaging. Okay. Because we can't invite 500 cat people to a dog training webinar. It's just not going to work. And even if they signed up because they kind of think dogs are cute, you can't convert them. They're just going to sit there and think like, wow, cute dogs, but I don't need this. And I don't want this. I'm not going to buy it. I'm not going to pay for it. So it all starts with clarity. So I have 3 things for you that I want you to write down, that I want you to make sure that you are as clear as possible. I'm just going to say it. Don't get stuck here. As clear as possible. Who is your event for? Number 1, who is your event for? Who is this person? Is it a woman 35 who is this person, right? Because there's very different to sell to all women over 40 and women over 40 that struggles with something specific that have 2 kids, right? So try to nail it down. Who is your event for? What result will the event going to give them? What is the result that the event is going to provide for them? You all are here because what do you want? Who wants more clients? Who wants more leads? Who wants more money in the bank account, right? Who wants more visibility online? Who wants to save time? That is why we're here. You want to be very clear with that. So you don't attract people that don't want clients or don't want money, right? So what is the result? The third thing, what is the problem that it solves? And this is something that people kind of not forget, but they kind of make it their result. So if I ask you, what is the problem? The problem isn't getting more clients. That is a result. The problem might be, I don't know where to start. That is a problem, right? I don't know what platform. That might be a problem, right? It's the problem. So who is the event for? What is the result of the event? And what problem does the event solve? Nobody is going to sign up for something that they don't say that they want, right? That is the simplest way to get super clear in the messaging. And you want to be clear, kind of clear about that. But what I want you to say, don't try to make it perfect so it actually prevents you from moving forward. Because that is a hole that a lot of people dig for themselves. They try to make it so perfect before they do anything that they are completely stuck. And they are stuck in that month after month after month trying to niche down, right? So as clear as possible, I'm just going to say that. So that is the messaging, okay, the audience. And when you're clear with that this is the person, this is a woman over 50 in menopause that struggle with binge eating, that wants to lose 10 kilos, okay? Very simplified. You need also to look, what am I gonna sell? And is this a perfect alignment? Because what you want to understand is that your event is the bridge between these two. I mean, that is the dog and cat people. If there are cat people here and I say, oh my God, this is my people, and then I have a dog offer over here. It doesn't matter that I want to work with this one and that is a perfect person, they're not going to buy this, right? And vice versa. I might have the perfect offer here and then I fill the event with the wrong people. It's not going to work. So even if you're clear with this, the next step is that you add your offer here and you look at these two and you ask yourself, is there an alignment here? Because the event is going to be placed in the middle because it's going to work as a bridge between these two. So you want to understand about your problem or your offer. Does it solve the biggest problems that these people say that they have? Now, when we are clear with who this person is, does it talk about this, remove their struggles, their fears, their frustrations? Does it give them the result that they say that they want? Their dreams, their desires? Might not be the end result, right? I don't help people scale to 8 figures, for an example. I am not capable of doing that because that is a completely different business, right? So it's not the end result. It's the result that they say that they want. So if your people say, I want to earn 10K a month, does your offer, can it take them to that result that they want? Right? Or they want to say, I want to learn how to make Instagram reels to sell. Does your offer provide that? Is there an alignment? Because otherwise it doesn't matter how good your event is. Nobody's going to buy that offer. It's just going to say it, okay? And you actually sell what they want. And inside your program, you have the resources, the knowledge, the expertise to make sure that they get what they need to get what they want, right? Because we can't sell the need. What all is in the offer. We need to sell what people actually want. People don't just buy what they want, and you provide what they need to get what they want. But there needs to be an alignment, okay? And when you have this, so we have an audience here, we know who this person is, their problems, struggles, frustration, fears, what do they actually want, and that is the event. We are going to make sure that that covers. Over here, we have the offer. it's a perfect alignment, okay? Then you need to be consistent in that messaging. The worst thing that we can do is to have in this kind of, I don't know what you call it, sickness of instant gratification. So you do 5 posts and you don't see the engagement that you wanted and you change. So you change the messaging, you change the problem, you change the outcome, whatever, right? That is not how you build a category of one brand. You need to stay consistent, and this is month after month after month. Can you do some kind of changes a little bit? Absolutely. You might change to instead of calling it virtual events, I could call it live launching, right? Those kind of thing. But it's important to understand that you need to stay consistent and you need to stay frequent. And when you do that, it's going to override any type of trends and fads or whatever that you have going on online. Okay. You don't need to follow trends or things like that if you stay consistent and you stay frequent in your messaging, in the way that you help people, in the way that you show up, in the way that you speak, in the way that you talk, right? And that is what Event is going to help you do, because what you're going to create is a bridge between these two, and you're going to claim that on the market, right? And it's also when you have this message clear for you, who is this person? And you show up consistent and you show up frequent in that messaging. You're not only going to create a category of one brand, you're going to be the best known for this, but you're also going to create what we call top of mind awareness, because that is kind of your entire brand. Is about helping these people get to here, right? Because every time we change this, what happens? We go a little bit backwards before we go moving forwards. So if we start over and over and over, we actually stand still, okay? That is different from other webinars. Not really sure. Several emails, Ursula. So if you haven't got them, send a message on Facebook or a private message of Josephine for your email address so we can go and check, okay? So it's kind of not about chasing trends or changing or things like that. It's about clarity, simplicity, and repetition, okay? And that is actually the entire runway. Is the foundation is clarity in the messaging. Be clear, who is this? So we start connecting with the right people, okay? And that is the first thing when it comes to building out the frame, building out the runway, is to be clear about this. The second thing that we're going to move into is filling the event. How do we actually do this? First of all, you don't need thousands of people here. So when you're clear that who do I want to work with? Who is the perfect person here? And you see that here, and you have your offer here, perfect alignment, okay? So now we're going to build the bridge, the little event that is going to be between these two. You need to understand that you don't need thousands of people in that bridge to run a successful event. And actually, 83% of all webinars out there runs with fewer than 50 attendees. You can see thousands and thousands of people in people's launches, absolutely. But 83% of all webinars have 50 attendees or less. And do you believe you could actually get 25 people to sign up, right? And I think that everyone that is here would say yes to that. If you have the knowledge, the clarity, and actually knowing how to get them to sign up, you could easily do that. Right? You don't need thousands of people, because it's not about the size. The size doesn't matter here. Not as much as the depth of your message and how well that resonates with the right people. Because events thrive on clarity, understanding your dream client. That is why I talk about that so much. Their struggles, the info, kind of the transformation that they are looking for, and operate inside of that. Be close to them and listening, right? And when you understand the dreams, the desires, the struggles, and you can really speak to that, I can promise you the right people are going to lean in. Okay? When you get that right, the right people are going to lean in. And lead generation is the lifeblood of this, because if we don't hand out any invitations, right? We don't invite anyone, nothing is going to happen. You will not get any clients. You will not be able to run a business because there's not going to be any money. You're not going to make any money. You're not going to change anyone's lives, right? You can't run a business without lead generation, new people coming in. So lead generation is where it all starts. And that is about handing out invitations. So I want you to understand that lead generation is handing out invitations every single day across platforms, depending on what platforms that you use. Because if you don't have leads, we don't have any sales. The room is going to be empty, okay? And you can have the best offer in the world, but if nobody sees it, nobody's going to buy it. It's obvious, right? And where do we get all the leads? So this is usually a question. I don't know where to find them. They're here. Okay, they're inside here. Inside this little thing, you actually have access to millions of people online across the globe. They're in your phone, and it costs you absolutely nothing to connect and engage with your target market. Zero. And still people say, I don't know where to find them. I struggle to get people to sign up for my event, okay? But that has nothing to do with this, access to people. It has to do with mindset. And the thing with strategies and lead generation strategies, that you can have all the strategies in the world, but if your mindset and belief system isn't aligned with the millions of dollars that you want to make, no strategy, lead generation strategy in the world is going to help you, because you're going to stand in your own way of handing out these invitations. Because what you need to understand when it comes to lead generation, that a lot of people feel is very strategic. I think you can agree. Lead generation strategies. Strategy. It feels very cold. It feels very, I don't know. But it's actually about handing out invitations to people that struggle with something. You have the solution, and you invite them to a place and a space of that solution. That means when you go out and do lead generation, you are being of service to your audience, because it's a gift to your audience. And a lot of people don't see lead generation that way. But it's actually of huge service to your market when you go out and run an event and invite people to join. And you share your knowledge, you help them with a transformation, you move them, you connect with them. That is a service to your audience, right? But it's very important to understand that the energy to hand out all these invitations needs to match the energy of the expectations of what you have that for that event is going to do for you. So if you want to, let's say we want to run an event, we want to make $50,000. Your consistency, your frequency of handing out those invitations needs to match the expectations of the $50,000, period. And this is where people go wrong, right? Because they don't hand out enough invitations, because they stand in their own way, because they are afraid to feel or sound pushy, slimy, sleazy, talk about my business all the time, posting every single day about my workshop. People are going to get tired. I don't want to be that person, etc. So they stand in their own way, and they don't invite enough people, or they don't hand out enough invitations. But you wouldn't do that if you hosted a party at your home. You would invite people, because you can't, if you host a party without people, or without handing out the invitations to the party, you can't get upset when nobody showed up, because it starts by you inviting people to your party, and your event is that party. So you need to have a kind of the energy to hand out those invitations. And that is why people struggle with lead generation, not strategy. Inside of Launch Academy, we have 50 strategies. I don't recommend anyone to do that, maybe 2, 3, but we have 50 strategies that we teach. It's not the strategies, they're there, very simple. It's we that stands in our own way to hand out those invitations to the market that is millions of people totally for free. And that has only to do with this, right? So you need to step out of your own way, hand out invitations to the people that you know were the perfect people. You lean into that, and I can promise you the right people are going to show up. And they're going to show up, a lot of them. Okay? So when we are clear in who we want to attract, and we take the energy to hand out those invitations, you are going to see that that is going to turn around your struggling lead generation. Okay, and that is that is things that people don't talk about, right? Because when we talk about lead generation, we are so focused on the strategies. We buy strategies over and over and over and try to implement them, and still nobody seems to want to show up or sign up. That has nothing to do with those strategies. I'm just going to say it. That's everything to do with being clear with who you want to invite, right? And we're going to talk more about that tomorrow when it comes to the content, the workshop in itself. But you need to be totally clear, and then you need to hand out invitations to those people. It's actually as simple as that. Okay? So that is how you get people to actually sign up. Being clear, know who you want to invite, no cat people in dog events. Okay? Who you invite is a perfect match for what you're going to sell, because your event is going to be the bridge. And then you lean into those invitations without fear, consistent and frequent in the time that you do lead generation. Okay? And the third thing that a lot of people struggle with right now is getting people to actually engage, either live, like you are now, or engage in the replays. Okay? So I wanted to talk about that, because that is something that I can see this all the time when people share their data from their events, how this has drastically gone down from maybe being at 35 to 40% show up rate down to 20. And I think the average now is around 20% show up rate. And that is totally fine. So what we need then is to make sure they watch the replay and still engage, right? Because the biggest thing that you are going to fight for here are people's time. It's the time. People are way more time, how do you say, time conscious? Is that even a word? I don't know. But they are very protective of their time, what they spend their time on, which means that the live, we want to increase the live show up rate, but we also want to increase the people that engage in the replays, right? And there is a lot of tactics, strategies to do this, right? To get people to show up, like reminders, calendar, all those things that all people do. But there are two things that kind of nobody talks about that is going to help you massively, because the other strategies, sending out more email, easy, right? Add a calendar, yeah, anyone can do that. But there are two other things that I want you to pay attention to, okay? The first one, pick the right event. Not a lot of people talk about this, because they are sold the idea that the only event that converts is the 5-day challenge. Or they are sold the idea that the only event is a webinar, right? You need to pick the one that, first of all, you want to host, because I can promise you, I have had clients, and Josephine have had this experience, that have run longer event and they hated it. What happens when you do something that you absolutely hate? The energy you put out, not a good energy, right? So people are going to feel that you do not want to be here. You do not want to be here with me, and they can feel it. Do those people buy? Nah, they're not going to trust you. They're not going to follow you, right? The energy is everything. We're going to talk about that tomorrow. Energy is everything here. So you want to pick first the event that you want to host, but also, how can I meet my dream client's needs, right? Let's say we target busy single moms with small children that are close to burnout. Would a 5-day challenge be the best pick for them to show up and engage? Not really, right? It would be a struggle, because they would be kind of stressed. They would read the landing page probably, and they're going to say, no. right? Because they can't, they are not capable. They know that I can't be there 5 days in a row. It's not possible. I have small children. I do this, and I'm totally burned out, right? So then you need to pick something else. And that is going to help you increase the show up rate and the engagement on the replays. And that is just by tweaking the event that you do. Okay. And nobody talks about that because they of course want to sell their strategy. And I help people build, there's so many ways of running an event, right? You can do long events, you can do short events, you can do full day events, right? There's so many ways of doing this. The foundation is still the same, right? So think about that. First, what do you want to do? Because your energy is everything. Second, what would my dream client want to show up for? What would be the perfect event for them, right? Let's say I target people that wants to run the New York Marathon, right? I could easily do a 5-day boot camp I could do, and they would still show up because they're so competitive, right? So it's totally different. One thing that nobody talks about that I want you to take with you, okay? The second thing to get more engagement and more show up rates is run the reps. And this is where it comes in, what we talk about in the pre-session, to actually say, if we say that we're going to do something, when the energy, when we set it in, has flown away, we still commit to that. Because every athlete out there became the best by running the reps. If you want to master something, you need to commit to run the reps, right? And when we master something, if you run the reps of your event, what is going to happen? What happens if I would do this event over and over and over? Okay, it's on, it's a pre-session, it's on the replay page, Ursula. So when I send out the replay page, it's on the top, a video where I talk a lot about setting the attention for this workshop, but also how the market have changed. So watch that. And because running the reps is something that a lot of us struggle, because we are so into the instant gratification. So if we run a webinar and we don't see the show up rate, the sign up rate, the conversion, whatever, we think that the webinar doesn't work and we change. And then we do it again and we do it again and we never master. If you want to be good at something, you need to run the reps. You need to commit to run the reps. And when you run the reps, what is going to happen is you run an event for the first time, you show up a little bit scared. That is usually how it works, right? And your audience feels a little bit skeptical because your energy, you kind of project that scan. I don't even know if it's a word, scareness. Can we say that? Yeah, you understand what I mean. When we show up a little bit out of a place of fear, the audience lean back a little bit. That is what happens in the beginning. We can't give up after that, because the next step is that you start to get comfortable. So you start speaking from your heart, but in a very unstructured way. So the audience kind of lean in, but they just don't get it because you're all over the place. So they can't follow your content and you don't show up as that leader that they really want, right? But it's getting better. There is where most people actually give up, right? The third thing is to be able to master this. So you start speaking from your heart, but in a very structured way. So your audience can feel and hear your convictions, but they can also follow you. Okay? And that doesn't happen the first time. I'm just going to say it. You need to run the reps. Okay? And when you do that, what happens more? Yeah, the content that you teach like this, you could run it without notes, right? You don't need any notes. You can speak from your heart in a very structured way because you know this content inside and out. So you can project your energy towards the people that are listening, that are there in the room with you. You can project your energy to the chat and engaging. And the more you do that, even if you watch a recording, you can almost feel the energy because a recording never have the same energy, right? But when you reach that level, when you run the reps of it and you commit to that, that energy is going to feel inside of that replay. So what is going to happen with the person that watched that energy on the replay? They're going to ask themselves, oh my God, I need to be there live. Oh my God, I need to watch day 2. Oh my God, do you have any more I can watch here? I love that energy. I want to be in that energy. And that doesn't happen if you run something and then you just, yeah. And you need to have a script every single time because you don't know the content. And your energy is like projected like almost a robotic, right? Or you hide behind all fancy slides, right? So think about that. That is 2 things that people never talk about when it getting more people to show up and start engaging in your virtual events. Pick the right one, number 1, run the reps of that. That is why we built signature events. So we built out one event, one bridge, this person, this offer, event. Then we run that again and again and again to build mastery. Not only to grow the audience and the list with more of these people, right? Because that is what happens every single time. It's a bonus. We also get more clients over here. We get more clients every time we run it because we show up with better energy. But we run it again and again and again, so we master it. That doesn't mean we don't pivot a little bit, because what we're going to talk about in day 3 is what happens after the event, right? Because there will always be segment for improvement, but the baseline is the same. I have done this type of workshop multiple times, but the content is often different. Why? I started by talking about this, operating in your dream client's reality. The reality change. What happens today wasn't 6 months ago. What happens today is not what is 2 years ago. So the more you listen and lean in, meeting the people's urgent need, of course, your content, the way, the things that you talk about is going to move like this. But that is not what I talk about. I talk about running the reps of your virtual events, and then the content, it's live. I mean, I asked you a lot of questions. I know that. I got a lot of responses in DM, and that helps me change this kind of topic because I saw that a lot of people struggle with lead generation. So I wanted to talk more about that today, for an example. That is also what I'm going to give everyone, because I have a guide with 50 ways of promote your event that you can pick from. Do not pick 50. I'm just going to say it. It's going to be the worst event ever because you're going to be totally stressed out. Pick 3. Okay, pick 3. But everyone that joins live tomorrow, I'm going to have the link. I'm going to make sure that I have a downloadable link without opt-in, so you can get download that guide. Gonna remember that, Josephine, for tomorrow, that we are gonna make sure that we have that link for everyone here, so everyone can download that, and it's gonna help you with the strategies, because the strategies are one thing, energy to hand out those invitations, something completely different, okay? So I want you to implement some things for tomorrow. I call them implementation steps, because if we don't do anything with this, yeah, nothing is going to happen anyway. So it's going to be like, yeah, I'm not going to change anything. I'm going to keep on going and doing the shit that didn't work before, right? I don't want you to be that person. So number 1, one thing that I want you to look into, I talk a lot about your event going to be the bridge for people. These people are going to buy your offer, which means the event in itself are going to lead these people into your offer. So what are you going to sell? Because the entire event is going to be built on depending on what you're going to sell. I have multiple offers. I could do multiple events. I could do one event for this, one event for that, and one event for this, right? So what are you going to sell? I want you to share this in the Facebook community. Okay, share this in the Facebook community. And ask in the Facebook community for any type of feedback on it, okay? So what are you going to sell? Second thing I talked a lot about today, what type of event would you like to do? We're going to talk more about different events tomorrow, depending on the content, but what would you like to do? What event would you kind of, I want to do a webinar that is 50 minutes. Oh, I want to do a 9-day live launch. Or I want to do a 3-day workshop, or a 2-day where I have my client or the audience 3 days, 3 hours every day. You pick. You look into yourself and ask you, what would you like to do? Maybe you have participated in an event. You see, I do a lot of 3 days because that is a format I love. Josephine, on the other hand, she loves doing masterclasses, like standalone. So what do you want to do? Okay. Number 2. Number 3, I want you to look into who is your perfect person. The perfect fit for that offer that you want to sell. Starting writing that down, because that is going to help you be clear in your messaging, what we talked about today, and that is the foundation of the entire launch runway. The visibility, the lead generation to get people to actually sign up and engage with those people. If you don't know who this person is, it's going to be a tough ride, okay? And it doesn't need to be perfect, totally perfect. But ask yourself, who is this person? What are their problems, struggles, frustrations, fears? So problems, struggle, frustrations, fears, okay? What is the result that they want? What are their dreams, desires? Write that down. Who is this? Okay? Because tomorrow we're going to look into the bridge between that person and what you're going to sell. So I want you to have that as clear as possible. This is my person, this is my offer. Because tomorrow we're going to talk about the content between these two. So write down, it's a woman in her 40s. She struggles with XYZ, frustration, fears, dreams, desires, those basic things. And I know those are basic things. The problem is that we skip them. And that is why a lot of event falls flat, because we get the wrong people. And when we have the wrong people in the audience, it doesn't matter how we lean in, they're going to lean back. They're not going to lean in with you. They're going to lean back. And they'll say, yeah, this is not for me. Okay. And we don't want that. We want the right people. Okay. So I hope this was valuable for you. Join tomorrow. I'm going to have the guide set up so we can download that guide and do the implementation steps. These 3 things: offer, what you're going to sell, what type of event would you like to do, and who is your perfect participant. Share that inside of the Facebook community. I would love to know. It's going to also help me maybe do some ideas for tomorrow. Okay. Because tomorrow we're going to dig into the event content in itself, because that have changed a lot. You can't sell how-to courses or programs with how-to content anymore, because the content, the accessibility of information online, boom, skyrocket, right? You can open ChatGPT, type in, how do I, there is your answer, right? And it's just not going to cut it anymore. Your event needs to have decision-making content that actually moves people into your offer. Okay, so that, yes, perfect. So that is the link to the community. So if you're not a member, come and join us. Ask any questions, but please share your implementation steps. I would love to know who you are working with, what it is that you do. The more I know about you, the more I can serve you. Okay. So this is quick recap. We talked about messaging, being clear with who this person is. Okay. We talked about that the offer and this needs to be a match. That is what the entire event, but especially the runway, stands on. If this is like this, dog people, cat people, it's just going to be off. Your event is the bridge between these two. Okay. When we are clear with this, we stay consistent and frequent. That is how we build a category 1 brand. Your event, we're going to talk about it tomorrow. It's going to help you with that, because you're going to do a signature event. So we're going to claim a space, claim a part of the market. When we stay consistent and frequent, we not only build a category 1 brand, we also create top of mind awareness. So when people think about, I need to learn how to cut my dog, they think about whoever do that. Okay, they think about you if you're that person, right? Have that top of mind awareness. Me and Josephine usually call it the everywhereness, that people see you everywhere so they can't ignore you. And that is what we want. We want people to be able to absolutely not ignore you. They see you everywhere, right? Without spending a time all the time. So we talked about that. We talked about lead generation. I'm going to share the strategies in a document tomorrow. You can just copy and paste that. But we talked about the importance of handing out invitations. Okay, it's as simple as that. Think about your birthday party. You don't invite any people to that. Yeah, you're going to sit alone with your cake. That is what's going to happen. And if we don't invite any people, we are not being of service to your audience, because this is the whole idea of being a service provider, is to be of service to your audience. So you're not being of service to your audience if you kind of keep the secrets and the strategies and the solutions for yourself. You're not going to help anyone. And you know that the more people you help, the more money you make. The more money you make, the more people you help. So we want more people, right? To help more people. So you need those, hand out those invitations. That was the second thing that we talked about. The third thing that we talked about was increasing show up and engagement. Right event, run the reps. Sounds simple, but it can be a tough one. So if you want some, we're going to talk more about events types tomorrow. So we'll leave that. We're going to talk about events types tomorrow, and then we're going to come back to that if you want some feedback on what type of event that you should do. Okay. So thank you so much. I almost kept, look at this, 1 hour and 6 minutes. That is good being me. I'm just gonna say it because I freestyle a lot. So I have the tendency to freestyle too much. Okay. So thank you so much for today. I hope to see everyone tomorrow. In about an hour, I'm gonna send out the replay page. We have someone that was asking about the Ursula, the extra session. So on the replay page, I'm going to add all the replays. On top, you have the pre-session. Please watch that. If you haven't watched it, go back and watch it. It's going to set the intention for this entire workshop. So you commit to this. And then I'm going to add the replays, and they're going to be up until Friday. Okay. Tomorrow is all about content, so I hope to see you. I hope this was valuable for you. Thank you so much, Kirsty. I hope I pronounced your name right. Hi, Doc. Hi, nice to see you again. Jabali, Elizabeth, thank you, Elizabeth. Was amazing. So thank you so much, and I hope to see everyone here live tomorrow. So take care, everyone. Go and do your implementation step. Nothing changes. Nothing changes. I'm going to end with that. Okay. Thank you. Bye.